We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Thursday. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking to yourself, Old Soul's supposed to be here. Well, that's true. The plan was for her to be here, but she's not here today. It's going to be just me all by my lonesome. Old Soul texted me a short time ago and she said that, she's out canvassing. I don't know if she's still in Pennsylvania or where she's at this point, but she's working hard to try to make sure Kamala Harris gets elected president of the United States. She said, I had no idea. I'm in this meeting with a bunch of people and Mark Cuban, and it's taken longer than I thought, so I won't be able to do the show today. And of course, I thought about that and I said, fuck Mark Cuban. No, I didn't say that. You know, she's always in the right spot at the right time, doing the things that are important. Far be it from me for trying to waylay that. We will have Old Soul back on. She said she wanted to reschedule. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'll probably talk to her tomorrow and we'll figure that out. But Old Soul will be here. But it's just going to be me today. And trust me, I can handle this. I've done this a time or two before. And we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. Some, and I hate saying this because everybody says it, but breaking news, if you will. I hate that term, breaking news, because everybody uses it for everything. And that just degrades the whole point of something that's just breaking. But this one happened just before I started recording this. So I think it's important to talk about it. It's not on the national level, it's on a state level in New York. Federal prosecutors indicted New York City Mayor Eric Adams on Wednesday. That comes from the New York Times. Um, and it puts some question into the future of this guy. Now, the indictment is still sealed, so the nature of the charges is not yet known, according to the Times. That said, the U.S. Department of Justice had been investigating whether Adams' 2021 mayoral campaign received illegal foreign donations from the Turkish government. The probe came into public view in November when federal agents first seized the electronic devices of an Adams campaign aide in charge of fundraising and then the phones of Adams himself. A series of additional scandals have since consumed Adams' mayoralty, with federal prosecutors investigating top Adams administration officials for charges that include alleged bribery, shakedown schemes. The steady drip of federal raids and rumored indictments has spurred the resignation of a host of top officials in the past 2 weeks alone. Adams' schools chancellor, health commissioner, police commissioner, and the city hall attorney have all resigned. That's interesting. Now, I heard somebody else talking about this, since we don't really know for sure what the indictments are about. Somebody on TikTok, and I have no verification of this, nobody has any verification of this, but this is just being bandied about. Some people are suggesting it might have something to do with the Diddy case, the P. Diddy case. It's believed that P. Diddy does have some compromising videos of politicians. Now, who those politicians are, we don't know. And we don't know if it's tied to this Eric Adams thing or not. But wouldn't that be a fucking freak show if that happened? Now, a former colleague, female colleague of Adams, while he was in New York Police Department, is also suing him for sexual assault she says he perpetrated in 1993. Adams' troubles have mounted. He's had a lot of problems. He has maintained that he is a laser focused on running the city, which has been dealing with continued affordability challenges for residents and the integration of more than 210,000 asylum seekers who've come in since 2022. So there's a lot of problems for Eric Adams at this point, and he has been indicted. This is the first time a sitting mayor has been indicted in New York City. Not the first time a former mayor has been indicted. We know Rudy Giuliani went through some shit and continues to go through some shit. But Eric Adams is the sitting mayor of New York, and it'll be interesting to see if he's forced to resign, what really happens. Bottom line is, we don't know a lot about what's going on. We know the indictment is there. We don't know exactly what it's for, but it sounds like Eric Adams has a number of things it could be about. So we'll wait and see. And no doubt later today, we'll find out more about that indictment. We've got something else going on today, actually, a couple of things. It is September 26th, it is Thursday, and there are two things that are happening for Donald Trump. And they aren't pleasant things, to be perfectly honest with you. By the way, we do have some emails coming up, so hold on for that. But on this day, it will be the opening arguments for Donald Trump's appeal of Letitia James' lawsuit to the tune of $480 million. He was found liable for that money. He owes that money, but of course he's appealing it. Now, Judge Engoron, when he first looked at the evidence, he said, "This is crazy. This is ridiculous. This is the most clear evidence I've seen." So now he's going to appeal it, and he's not going to get anywhere with it. I don't know if there's another step after he loses this appeal or not, maybe to the state Supreme Court. I don't know. Maybe it's already at the Supreme Court. The bottom line is opening arguments for the appeal here. And if Donald Trump runs out of appeals, then he's got to go into his pockets and pull out almost $500 million, which I guarantee you he doesn't have. And if he doesn't come up with that money, then Letitia James is going to go take his shit, take buildings, take planes, take cars, take property. So this is going to be interesting. We're getting closer to it. And some of this stuff may pop before the election, which is poor timing for Donald Trump. But remember, he's the one that wanted to delay everything. So he's doing this to himself. And when we talk about delays, we've got the other situation, which is probably more crucial to Donald Trump at this point. Um, we know that the Supreme Court came down with these immunity decisions, and that put into jeopardy Jack Smith's case against him in Washington, D.C. regarding the election interference. So Jack Smith, being a smart guy, went back to the drawing board, came up with a new set of superseding indictments, presented them to Judge Chutkan, hopefully to work around the immunity decision. And he's scheduled to make a filing of a brief today. Now, normally these briefs are about 30, 40 pages. Jack Smith has a brief that totals 180 pages, so it's significantly bigger. And he had to go to the judge and say, "Is it okay if I give you this bigger brief?" And Judge Chutkan, as much as Donald Trump's team wanted to try to stop it, Judge Chutkan said, "Sure, bring it." Now, what's interesting about this filing, this brief, 180 pages, is that what's going to happen is because Judge Chutkan has to decide, she's been directed by the Supreme Court, she has to decide what's official and what's unofficial for a president. So Jack Smith said, "All right, fuck it. We're going to bring all the evidence, all the exhibits. We're going to give testimony from Mark Meadows. We're going to give you everything so you can decide this in all one felled swoop." Now it's being filed sealed, so that means we don't get to see it. But there is another one with redactions in it that we may get to see. And this is problematic for Donald Trump because he doesn't want this shit to get out before the election, but he has no way of stopping it now. It's being presented today. We'll see how long it takes before we start seeing information from it. But 180 pages, a shitload of evidence, stuff we haven't seen before, testimony, and even exhibits. So Donald Trump is a little nervous. He's doubling up on the diapers because he's going to be shitting his pants quite a lot. And it's going to be interesting to see how he tries to spin this because it's not going to work too well. So those are a couple of things that are happening from Jump Street here. This is stuff that last night came out. And as I'm recording this is kind of new, fresh stuff. I do have some emails. So let's get to the emails. First one says, "Mike, it's been like the invasion of the body snatchers, that old 1950s science fiction movie. A pandemic of unconsciousness, people walking around in their dreams, people sleepwalking together like a mob of body snatchers coming for us. It hasn't been easy and took a lot of kindness as well as a lot of words for me to finally realize that I'm going to die, just like everybody else, meaning everybody else in the audience. Got to appreciate what I have right now. What I used to do was industrial research. Somebody said that companies needed a formula grounded in behavioral economics for optimal capital budgeting. I found it, of course, shortly after I left the company. It explains data in the probability learning experiments as well as matching law experiments. Skipping over all the details, greed looks like a type of regret that occurs even when our own mouth is full of food, so to speak, and you see someone else is taking a piece of pizza before you can get it. Even while you have the prize fully in hand, when you see another player at the same time win a different prize, there is that instant feeling of regret about the impossibility of getting that prize, the one that the other player is taking right in front of you. Greed uh, can't appreciate the food in your mouth when you see another person getting a piece of the pizza. At least that's what the equation for optimal capital budgeting says about greed. No appreciation for what you've got. Air to breathe, breathe to feel. Mike, any thoughts on that piece I sent you about what exactly when the self comes through the wall and when it leaves through the other wall? Well, you're talking a little above my head. I mean, I can relate to some of this stuff because I understand that myself. I don't know that I'm as educated on the details of it as you are, but you make some interesting points. Um, yeah, I need to look over that piece a little bit more. I've told you before when I do these emails, I don't read them ahead of time. I read them as you hear them. So when you give me homework, it's hard for me to do the homework when I didn't know I needed to do homework, but I will do the homework. Don't you worry. I will absolutely do that. And thank you for the email. Next one. Hello, Mike. I don't believe you had touched on this. If you have, my apologies, as I must have missed it. I just wanted to bring up the Republicans have now pulled a small town called Charleroi, Pennsylvania, into the mix with the anti immigrant Haitian worker lies. I believe it started around September 11th when Trump brought this up. So it's been almost 2 weeks. It seems like once again it's another small town about 20 miles south of Pittsburgh is being put in a situation that become bad if it snowballs like Springfield did. The owner of 4th Street Foods could not get any workers and actually shut his business down for a little bit. He was unable to get in contact with any agency who was able to bring in Haitian workers to come here legally to fill jobs that current American citizens are not taking. Lies about them taking jobs away from current residents and eating pets, etc., are being spewed about this town as well. The representatives of this town, as well as the Republican senator, Kamara Bartolotta, said that these lies are not true. The town is worried it is going to become the new Springfield. These lies are helping no one and hurting innocent people. Not sure if Old Soul has any insight since she was on the playground or on the ground in Pennsylvania. Michelle. Well, when we have Old Soul back in the next day or so, we will certainly ask her about that. And I'm sure she does have some insights. She's very observant and she has some opinions on most things, and mostly it's dead on. So we will talk to her about it. But that's the thing about this type of thing. When you start this kind of ball rolling, it does tend to spread. Once this talk of Haitians and eating pets is happening, anybody else who has a town with Haitians in it, and if you happen to lean right and lean racist, it's bound to start some shit there. And that's the problem with Donald Trump. He's out there trying to incite this kind of um, rage and this kind of potential violence. So it is certainly a problem. And it's not just going to be in Springfield, Ohio. there'll be things like this popping up all over the country. No doubt we have Haitians in other cities around the country. Now, anybody sees a Haitian, the racists are going to strike out either verbally or physically. So I get what you're saying, and it does have to be shut down. It's just amazing to me that the Republicans who claim to have a reasonable mind refuse to do anything about it, and the DOJ refuses to do anything about it. We do know that in Springfield, Ohio, or in Ohio in general, citizens have the right to file criminal charges, which a Haitian organization in Ohio did, filed criminal charges against Donald Trump and JD Vance, total of 6 each. Now, what's going to come out of that? I don't know. Can they go get him? Can they cuff him? Can they put him in jail? Can they try him for that? I would presume they could. I think they're going to need some support and from the police department. It'll be interesting to see if the police department does get behind that. All right. Thank you, Michelle. All right, next one from Sam says, hello, Boomer. Dirty Diaper Donnie has announced he will be in Savannah Wednesday and have a rally at the Johnny Mercer Auditorium, capacity 2,500, so it will appear to be full. Kamala was in Savannah last month and held her rally at End Market Center with a full attendance of 9,500. Hope the city has collected the rental fee beforehand. Sam. And as you know, Savannah is beloved by me and my family. We go down there all the time. In fact, we're headed down to Savannah on October 6th through the 10th. So we're looking forward to that. And yeah, I don't know why he would go to Savannah. That's a very blue part of Georgia. Maybe that's why he went there. He's not going to change many minds there. That city is 58% black, 38% white. So I can't imagine he was well received there. But he did some things while he was there. He seemed to be slipping up a little bit. He was making all kinds of mistakes and mumbling and doing weird shit. He was referring to Charlottesville, and he called it Charlottetown. Um, Apparently, he was slobbering all over himself. He was wiping his mouth. My wife pointed out, well, you have to fucking do that too. So shut up. And she makes a point. But it wasn't a good showing for Donald Trump, and no one was expecting it would be. He's trying, but nothing seems to be working for Donald Trump at this point. He's losing every step of the way. All right. Next one says, Mike, I live in Western North Carolina, God's country. Not sure if VP Harris can win or not. There are a lot of Trumpers out here in the rural hinterlands. Let's hope that Charlotte, Raleigh, and the surrounding counties turn out heavy for her. A repeat of the 2008 presidential race where Senator Obama won North Carolina, the last presidential Democrat to have won the state. By the way, Robinson is toast. That's Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor, who's going through some shit. I predict there will be a lot of ticket splitters who may vote for Trump, but will not vote for the black Nazi. Go Josh Stein. Well, let's hope that's not the case. I mean, how do you vote for Donald Trump if he endorses the black Nazi? I can't explain it, but I'm sure there will be people doing that. Emailer goes on to say, love your show. And yes, it still reminds me of old AM radio. It's a treat waking up in the morning, making coffee, and listening to the Rational Boomer podcast on my laptop. Signed, Mike. P.S. If you get down to WNC, give me a shout. I'm 35 miles from Asheville. And when he said WNC, Western North Carolina, and 25 miles from Greenville, South Carolina. It's now been discovered that it's a great place to live, especially for a retired boomer like I am, Michael. I would like to get over there. You know, I get down to Savannah. I get to maybe Hilton Head in South Carolina, Beaufort, some places like that, but I haven't got to North Carolina yet, but I'm hoping to do that. I'm looking forward to it. It is beautiful country down there. I have to admit that. And it's funny that you should say it reminds you of AM radio, old AM radio. I never really thought about it, but I guess, yeah, you're right about that. When I was growing up, from the time I was a very little kid, I wanted to be on the radio. God knows why. It was not my best choice. But anyway, I wanted to be on radio and I loved AM talk radio. I don't know what it was about it. I loved hearing the people calling in and talking and asking questions and making comments. I remember one Christmas when I was a little kid, I got a transistor radio with an earphone in it, and I would sit in bed listening to the AM talk radios. It was a little crazy at times. Eventually, it kind of got out of hand. I ultimately did work in talk radio to a certain extent. I did some hosting, but I was pretty young at the time, so I did a lot of producing. So maybe inadvertently, I'm recreating what I loved so much back in the day. All right, I got a couple from Jay from California. Emailing because Chapel Roan, some trans pop star apparently really popular, refused to endorse Kamala and used the "oh, both sides suck" cop out. Found out the real reason was because Kamala isn't rabidly pro Palestine. I swear to God, all I've heard for weeks is Palestine, 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 Gaza, 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 and I'm tempted to advocate for the entire Levant region to be a nature reserve. Both sides should get nothing because they both want it all. Pissed. That's Jay's words. I, as I've said before, I don't know enough about it to really speak intelligently about it. Well, he wrote a second email. He says, "Hi, Mike. Jay from California, trying to clear up my earlier email. I didn't mean to come off like I don't support the people of Palestine. I do. I just feel like a mom dealing with two selfish toddlers fighting over a carton of ice cream. Israel and Palestine fighting over the Levant region. I will try to. I don't see it. I mean, I know Palestine and Israel are going back and forth for property and land and all that sort of stuff, but the war is really about Netanyahu and Hamas. You got a lot of people in Gaza that are innocent folks. You've got a lot of people in Israel that are innocent folks, and they just want it over. Anyway, both kids want all the ice cream for themselves and won't stop fighting and hitting each other. So I'm tempted to say, that's it. No ice cream for anybody, and take the carton away. Hope that cleared it up. Well, it does clear it up. And I understand your frustration. And I think that's, what we're talking about is frustration. There's a lot of frustration about this whole situation. It seems unnecessary if there could be some kind of compromise. But remember, we have Benjamin Netanyahu, who's the leader of Israel. He's got a problem. If this war was over, there's a good chance he'd be kicked out of office and sent to jail. So he's got no motivation to end this war. In fact, he's motivated to keep the war up. And that's a problem. And then you've got Hamas, which is a terrorist organization doing what they do. And in the middle, you got the innocent Israelis and the innocent Palestinians, and they are taking the brunt of it. The whole thing is frustrating. I get it. Um, let's see here. Who is this? Okay, this is Lee. This might be out of order, or maybe I read it last time. I must, of course, clarify my unfortunate previous email. When the astrocyte synctium is the first time initialized, at the time it functionally becomes the nest for the neurons in the brain. Actually, you see, the astrocyte synctium is really just a functional synctium. I have no clue what you're fucking talking about. You're over my head. I'm not dumb, but I'm not that smart. Its function begins when its electrical circuitry is for the first time wired up and connected together by what they call the connexin 43 and other connection. Are you punking me here? Connections after which electrical and quantum mechanical waves begin to flow, streams of energy, pulses flow here, and streams of wave function collapse. You know what? I don't know what this has to do with anything. I'm not trying to call you out here, Lee, but I don't know what we're talking about here, and maybe I'm missing one of the other emails, but I'm not going to continue with it because it sounds like a lot of philosophy and a lot of science that I don't understand, and all I know at this point is fuck Trump. I'm sorry. I'm a simple minded guy thinking about simple minded things. All right. This one seems more relatable to me, something I can actually talk about. Hi, Mike. Kamala Harris has trapped Donnie. Whether or not he debates her again will come down to his ego. That's true. If he keeps getting insulted for not going, his ego might force him to go. The more people talk about him being scared or losing to her last time will push him to the debate. I'm looking forward to her kicking his ass in another debate with 2 weeks till she kicks his ass in the election. Did you see Liz Cheney say that they may need a new conservative party? Yes, I did. We've talked about that option on the podcast. Guess she was listening to us. Yeah, I'm sure Liz tuning in all the time. Hopefully, her campaign against Ted Cruz will flip Texas and give us Senator Colin Allred. Thanks, Eric. And that's Eric from Iowa. Better known, well, not better known, well, known as the Analytical Iowan. I would suggest you check him out on TikTok. I think you'll find him very informative and entertaining. All right, next one says, "Hi Boomer, do you think that when Trader Trump loses the election that he'll endorse JD Vance? What if Musk and Thiel offer Trump a financial deal he can't refuse?" Karen from Great Britain. Well, if he loses the election, I'm not sure what you mean by endorsing JD Vance. Are you talking about in 2028? No, I don't think Donald Trump will endorse JD Vance. I don't think anybody will want Donald Trump to endorse them. I think Donald Trump will become a pariah. I don't think he'll have much say in anything when it's all said and done. Then you say, what if Musk and Thiel offer Trump a financial deal he can't refuse? Nobody's going to give Donald Trump anything. He has no power. He continues to lose elections. And if Peter Thiel and Elon Musk want to put up another candidate in 2028, it ain't going to be JD Vance. Keep in mind his approval rating right now, 27%. Nobody likes this motherfucker. Nobody likes him. And he is going to be out of politics as soon as his Senate run is over. All right. Thank you, Karen from Great Britain. Hey, Mike, just dropping you a message to vent about all of the latest political things driving me crazy. First of all, it's Tuesday, 9/24. What in the hell with the polls from yesterday? How does the national poll from NBC show Kamala up 5%, and then all of a sudden the Sunbelt battleground states show her down? AZ has her down 5%, so that's a 10% swing from the national average. I think not. They also show her down slightly in Georgia and NC. Particularly, the North Carolina number is preposterous considering recent events with Mark Robinson. This is an insult to our intelligence and frankly looks like an open manipulation tactic. I recently heard the term polar coaster, and that is definitely an apt description. Speaking of Robinson, on to life here in North Carolina. Just wow. How awful can this man be? That's a rhetorical question, considering he's just an extension of MAGA and Trump. Isn't it crazy how no Republican, either on the national ticket or state, was publicly rescinded their support from him? That's because they can't admit they're wrong. They can't admit they lose. They just have to double and triple down. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance will live to regret it. We also have another from the basket of deplorables on the ballot here. Michelle Morrow, the Republican candidate for superintendent of public schools, has said she's in favor for public execution of Barack Obama and Roy Cooper. What in the hell? On the positive front, I'm certain Josh Stein will win the gubernatorial election, and the Democrat candidate for lieutenant governor is Rachel Hunt, who is the daughter of former long-term Democratic Governor Jim Hunt. It is glaringly obvious that it is imperative we all vote straight ballot Democrat in this election nationwide, and particularly those here in North Carolina. I'm super pissed about the latest shenanigans by Republicans in Nebraska and Georgia. That asshat, Lindsey Graham, sure tried to put a great deal of pressure on the electorate in Nebraska to disenfranchise that one electoral vote. But of course, you know that didn't work. A Republican stood up and said, fuck no, that's over. They're not going to be able to pull that off. I hope Jack Smith ends up having a present for Graham. As far as the counting ballots thing in Georgia, please do your boomer magic of easing my nerves. I'm hoping that Harris has a legal team that is working hard on reversing this. I'm hoping that Harris gets North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. Doesn't matter as much. But imagine being an eager voter. There only have your vote not factor in on the election night because of fraudulent attempts to game the system. It makes me so damn mad. Well, if it does make you feel any better, we know that Kamala Harris has about 10 times as many lawyers on the job as they had in 2020. Plus, they know what they're going to try to pull. Um, I think it's conceivable we may not need Georgia, but I don't think Georgia's going to be as rough as they think. I mean, the fact of the matter is they have a certain time frame where they have to certify the election. If they're counting them by hand, yeah, it'll take a little while for them to do that, but they still have to get it done in a timely manner. So they're going to have a lot of people counting. Email goes on more and more. I'm feeling good about a possible Florida flip to blue when you factor in that there are 500,000 Haitians in Florida, new Gen Z voters, people voting due to the abortion issue on the ballot, and seniors worried about Project 2025 wanting to take away Medicare. Sounds like Republicans may be burning too many bridges for this election. Yeah, I think you're right. And there are a lot of people that are feeling like Florida will turn blue. And frankly, if Florida turns blue, won't matter what happens in Georgia. My final rant for today is about the possibility of there being an investigation into Melania Trump being paid like $237,000 for a recent speaking engagement. Like, holy hell, she's vapid AF. What could she possibly spew in a single speaking event that's worth $250,000? Looks sus. Here's hoping it causes much legal discomfort for her and Donnie. Well, that's all for now. Please forgive any typos. I was typing with fingers of fury. LOL, Karen in North Carolina. Well, thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. I think Karen was on the show at one point, and I presume she's going to be coming back on the show. Folks liked her. Um, yeah, Melania Trump, a lot of people like to apologize for her or feel sorry for her. She knew exactly what she was getting into when she married Donald Trump. She certainly learned a lot about Donald Trump after she was married. And then when she became the first lady and saw the things Donald Trump has done and still supported him, maybe at a distance, but never came out and spoke against him. She knows what he is and what he was doing. And I don't have any sympathy for Melania Trump either. It would be fun to see her get an indictment as well. I don't know if that's possible, but I would like to see it. All right, we are going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, we are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. We got more emails to get to, so let's do that. Next one says, Hi, Boomer. All right, let's say I never heard of you. And 6 months ago, someone told me, hey, this guy will keep you sane, re Trump, but you have to get him a cheeseburger every day. I'd say, fuck yeah. What's he like on his cheeseburgers? And that's what you've done. But you're a tough case, so let's make a bet. Biden beat Trump by 7 million votes. I have no idea what it means, but I know gamblers yell 7 come 11. So let's have an over under on 11 million votes as Kamala's margin on the popular vote, and you pick. I will take either side. Loser buys cheeseburgers. Best Garage Door Jeff. I respect working men. Shout out to Matt from Ohio. My fondest wish would be to round up Don Jr., Ted Cruz, old JD, and let's throw that skinny ass Josh Hawley in the mix. Put those boys in a van and deliver them to a Haitian roofing crew in Springfield, Ohio, as labor and see how many days those pussies last. Over and under on this one. Okay. Biden did win by 7 million votes. You want me to go over or under on 11 million votes? Well, I think that's an easy one. I think that Kamala will at least double what Biden did. So I'm looking at 14 million there. Would not at all be surprised if she tripled it. So I'll take the over. I think that's an easy bet. I think cheeseburgers every day, though. I'm getting too old to do that. I can't even do that anymore, but we'll work something out. But she'll get over 11 million votes in the popular vote, uh, beating Donald Trump by that much. I have no question in my mind. All right. Next up, I am part of a couple of online Democrat groups for my area. The topic now is how every time they put up a Harris Wall sign, someone steals it. Many are women who live alone and they fear for their safety, rightfully so. I know I live in a red area, and these men that are doing this are capable of very unhinged behavior. My opinion is that men are doing this, not women. And if men are so desperate to silence women, they must be scared. Well, yes, they're absolutely scared. And I don't know if you heard this story, but there's a headquarters in Arizona. It's been shot up twice. Like it's down in the Scottsdale or Phoenix area. But this building has been shot up twice. These people are terrified. They know they're losing. They're trying to do what they do. They're trying to be bullies. They're trying to scare off the Democrats. And we can't allow them to do that. We got to step up to them, slap the taste out of their mouth, and beat their asses. That's what we must do. As far as stealing signs, if that's the best they got, fuck them. Pussy ass bitches. Email continues. And when men try to silence women, women get louder. If it becomes dangerous to be loud, we pass notes. Well, I got to tell you, I'm coming up on 41 years married to the same woman. I'm pretty sure I'm stronger than she is, but she terrifies me if I get her mad. I don't know why, but if you've ever been married, had a girlfriend, had a sister, had a mom, had an aunt, you know, women don't forget shit and they'll get you eventually. Like my wife once told me when we were first married, just remember, you got to sleep sometime. She didn't really say that, but I like to use that because it kind of gives you a sense of our relationship. I have a lot of respect for women and certainly my wife. And I don't want to go out of my way to endanger them or even piss them off. So it frustrates me when I hear about these stories about men stealing signs or talking shit about women. 50% of this country is women, and these women are not going to stand by idly and take this shit. And I think the Republicans are at war against women. I think women understand this, and they are going to come out in mass to handle this situation. I think women will be the people who help win this election, much like black women did in the last election. But this is all women now. It's not just certain races. Every woman in this country that has any sense that is not in the cult will be coming for Donald Trump. And that's why I think that the over 11 million votes is the way it's going to happen. You don't piss off 50% of the country, take away constitutional rights. That's why I've said the Roe v. Wade situation may be the most important issue of this upcoming election. This is another reason, if given a choice, I will vote for a woman. Men tend to be violent and irrational. Don't worry. I know it's not all men, Amanda. Well, I'd agree with you. Men seem to be, uh, especially younger men, tend to have more testosterone than they do compassion or intellectual capabilities. I'm just saying. I was there. I was a young man once, so I know. I know from whence I speak. So you're absolutely right. But don't worry, the women, once again, will save us in this upcoming election. All right. Hey, Mike, it's Karen from North Carolina again. Naturally, just after I sent my email to you yesterday, I saw where charges were being filed in Ohio on Trump and Vance. Kudos to that organization for doing what the DOJ or state AG should have already done. I'm not sure if they stand a prayer of getting these charges to actually stick, but it's a crying shame that any other person who would have incited such hate and chaos would have already been arrested. Please, people of Ohio, hit these two where it hurts and vote blue. All right, the next one says, been listening for over a year and you are doing miracles. I don't know about miracles. Any chance you can advocate after November 5th when we win blue across the board? We, us will never speak of Trump and MAGA ever again. I hope this can resonate across influencers. Thank you again, Joe, Greenville, South Carolina. Blue dot in a very red state, county, and city, Joe. I don't know. Do you think I'm just going to quit doing this after the election? Fuck no. I'm going to crow about this shit. We've got trials, we've got indictments, we've got the Democratic Party that we've got to make sure they're on top of this shit. So I will be in the mix even after the election. Never fear about that. And as far as never speaking Trump or MAGA ever again, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. They're still going to be making news. And as they get dismantled and taken down, I'll be mentioning them all the time. So we're a long way away from forgetting about not talking about MAGA or Donald Trump, but at least what we'll be talking about is the destruction of same. So it'll be kind of pleasant. It'll be kind of fun to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'll be here after November 5th. All right, next one comes from Janet. Thank you for your excellent podcast. I listened to it on Spotify. I was a blue dot in Iowa for the first 40 years of my life. We moved to South Carolina in 98 due to my husband's profession. Now I'm a blue dot here. I just cannot wrap my head around the people who still support this man child. He lost me when he mocked the disabled man the first time. His VP pick is no better. Makes absolutely no sense. I'm very encouraged about this election. Please keep encouraging the doubters. Also, sauerkraut pizza is good, Janet. She's reminding us of something I brought up. I want to say that I'm a pizza snob, but it's not really being a snob. I just don't like these fancy pizzas with all this weird shit on it. Sausage, pepperoni, mushrooms, that kind of onions, that kind of thing. I'm all for normal traditional pizza. I don't like the fancy shit with balsamic vinegar. Don't put that shit on my pizza. Just put mozzarella on it and I'm good. But I did say back in the day when I was very young, like in my mid-teens, and I worked at a pizza place. Somebody came in and ordered a pizza, like a pepperoni or sausage pizza, and said, put a little bit of sauerkraut on it. I go, what the fuck are you? We even have sauerkraut? Went in the refrigerator. God damn it, there was some sauerkraut sitting right there. And I said to the guy, I said, dude, that sounds horrible. Why would you do that? And he was sitting down eating it at the restaurant. He said, here's a piece. Take this piece, try it, tell me you don't like it. I tried it. Fucking right. It was good. You didn't really taste the sauerkraut. You tasted the tanginess of it, and it added another dimension to the pizza. So I'm all in on sauerkraut on pizza. I don't have it that much because I'm usually sharing it with my wife, and she claims she doesn't like it. I said, have you ever tried it? She said, no, but I know I won't like it. I said, maybe you should just try it. And she said, no. And I know when to stop. So I stopped. All right. So Vice President Kamala Harris called Donald Trump a loser. She's ramping this shit up. She's ramping this shit up in her last speech. Called him a loser who failed to grow domestic manufacturing under his watch in one of her strongest speeches yet against the former president. All told, almost 200,000 manufacturing jobs were lost during his presidency, starting before the pandemic hit, making Trump one of the biggest losers ever on the economy. Harris said in remarks Wednesday that channeled Trump's own hyperbole. This is what she needs to do. She needs to go after Trump, embarrass Trump, needle Trump, and that's exactly what she's doing. Harris painted Trump as an out of touch rich guy who's only looking out for himself and his rich friends. Harris said regarding previous speaker Andrea, not everybody was handed on a silver platter 400 million and then filed bankruptcy 6 times. Oh, I said that, she interjected. I actually said that. These were some of the vice president's most direct attacks on Trump since becoming the Democratic nominee on a key issue that's weighing on swing voters. Harris was in Western Pennsylvania to lay out her plans for bolstering the middle class, which she called the defining goal of my presidency. They always get on her about not talking about her strategies or policies. She's the only one talking about policies. Donald Trump will come out and say, drill, baby, drill, and let's put on some tariffs, 200% tariffs on John Deere. That's the extent of his economic plans. Her vision for an opportunity economy includes $6,000 tax credit for new parents and $25,000 in down payment assistance for the first-time home buyers to get their footing in a challenging housing market. She also pledged tax credits for steel and other manufacturing sectors and investments in apprenticeships programs for the skilled trades. We need more skilled tradespeople. And handing this $25,000 out sounds like a handout to these young people wanting to buy houses. But keep in mind, we have people that are saddled with student loans, high prices, and low wages. If they can't buy houses, what do you think that's going to do to the economy? It's going to fuck it up. So she's not just thinking about helping out young people. She's thinking about spurring on this economy, which would be her job as president. Um, 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 a responsibility that Donald Trump apparently doesn't understand. Harris presented herself as a product of the middle class, recalling her mother sitting at the yellow Formica table late at night, cup of tea in hand, with a pile of bills in front of her, just trying to make sure she paid them off at the end of the month. Whereas Trump, Harris noted, used family money to launch a real estate empire that went under a handful of times. You see, for Donald, what did she say here? Hold on. You see, for Donald, our economy works best for those who own the big skyscrapers, not those who actually build them, not those who wire them, not those who mop the floors. Well, I have a different vision, Harris said. Harris knocked Trump on his lofty campaign promises about bringing factories roaring back to life, a key part of his pitch in 2016. The coronavirus pandemic set back Trump's progress on that front. He rode a steady climb in manufacturing sector job growth, but that began under former President Barack Obama. And of course, that went backwards when the pandemic hit, resulted in a net job loss of 188,000 jobs in this area under Trump's watch. Keep in mind, when Donald Trump left office, he had lost 2.5 million jobs, only the second president in history to do that. Trump's campaign ignored the remarks about manufacturing in its statements on Harris. Personal savings are down, credit card debt is up, small business optimism is at a record low, and people are struggling to afford homes, groceries, and gas. Every time Kamala speaks, it becomes increasingly clear the only President Trump will make America wealthy again, said Trump's National Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Well, here's the deal. And I'm going to talk about this in another segment if I can get to that. Donald Trump always likes to use the pandemic as an excuse. Well, sure, the economy was down and jobs were down because of the pandemic. But here's the deal. The reason the pandemic went to the extent it did and the shutdowns we had is because Donald Trump did little or nothing as president of the United States to contend with the pandemic. You remember what he did. There was a strategy book. He threw that out the window. There was a committee to handle the pandemic. He fired them all. And then he told us it was a hoax and that it would go away and that it was not a big deal. Don't worry about it. I've got it handled. The fact that he did nothing is why it got so bad. You can try to blame Tim Walz in Minnesota for shutting businesses down during the pandemic. But if not for Donald Trump, he would never have had to do that. And that's the argument I got into with my brother-in-law, who I have not talked to since. He said to me, Tim Walz is a tyrant. He shut all the businesses down, and we're struggling now. Yeah, well, I explained to him. He said, well, if the guy at the top, Donald Trump, had done his job, we wouldn't have had to do that. And that was too much. That was a bridge too far. And he got angry. Fuck him. All right. Now, here's another worry that people had, and I told you not to worry about. And I was correct. I'm not trying to gloat about being correct. It's just that if you look at the facts, you know what's going to happen. U.S. House of Representatives on Wednesday defied former President Donald Trump by approving a government funding bill without a crackdown on the imaginary threat of widespread voter fraud. The bill passed in overwhelming bipartisan fashion by a final tally of 341 to 82, with 209 Democrats and 132 Republicans in support and only 82 Republicans against. You see what happened there? This was a Republican bill to keep the country open, and they needed the Democrats to get it done once again. That tells you something about the Republican Party. They are divided. And when you have a divided party, it's hard to win elections. The legislation will now, well, it has already headed to the Senate, and the Senate passed it. So there will be no shutdown, pretty much like what I told you. There will be no shutdown. And Donald Trump, of course, was all about shutting it down. He said, I would shut down the government in a heartbeat if they don't get it. And if they don't get it in the bill, Trump said last month, Trump privately called on multiple House Republicans this week to push for new voting restrictions in the funding bill. Multiple sources told The Hill, the online newspaper, on Wednesday. You notice what's going on here? The last few times that they were trying to shut down the country, it took a lot longer. Not this time around. We're too close to the election and people are getting tired of Donald Trump's bullshit. The fact of the matter is they wanted to put in this bill that it is illegal for non-citizens to vote. It's already illegal for non-citizens to vote, and they rarely do. Still, Trump has claimed without evidence that undocumented immigrants could sway November's election. Well, they never have, and I don't suspect they ever will. Contrary to Trump, many Republicans have said that shutting down the government in October of an election year is a dumb idea. I'm still mystified anybody wants to do it, let alone 5 weeks before the election. Representative Tom Cole, a Republican from Oklahoma, told the press on Wednesday. And he's right. It would be absolutely stupid for them to do that. And it was never going to happen. A lot of people worried about it. And I said, last 3 times they tried to do it, everybody was worried. And at the last minute, it didn't happen. This one didn't have to go down to the last minute, thankfully, and it's not going to happen. So that's another thing we don't have to worry about in the coming weeks. Vice President Kamala Harris pushed back at her MSNBC interviewer Wednesday evening on a controversial claim about former President Donald Trump. And this is what I'm talking about with the left side media. They play this fucking game. They never press Donald Trump, but they try to press Kamala Harris every time. And this particular woman, I'm not a big fan of. I think she's a little plastic. The 11th hour host Stephanie Ruhle grilled Harris about her new economic policy plan in an exclusive interview during which she tried to fact check Harris and found herself checked in return. Yeah, Stephanie Ruhle's not as smart as Kamala Harris. And for all you Republican motherfuckers that think she can't handle it when she's being interviewed, just watch that interview. Donald Trump, said Harris, left us with the worst economy since the Great Depression when you look at, for example, the employment numbers. Stephanie Ruhle cut in to remind Harris about COVID-19, the global pandemic. Unemployment was so high because we shut the government down. We shut the country down, said Ruhle. But Harris came ready with rebuttal points that have a basis in fact. Even before the pandemic, we lost manufacturing jobs. By most people's estimate, at least 200,000, Harris said. This number appears in an analysis from the Blue Green Alliance, a group that represents the United Steelworkers and the Sierra Club. And as I said before, um, yes, the country was shut down. And yes, we did have a pandemic, but it would not have been nearly as bad had Donald Trump done anything. Donald Trump, when he was in office, he did very little. He had other people doing things and he would take credit for it. He thought the pandemic might work against him in the election, and he was right, but not in the way he thought it would. So he decided to act like it doesn't exist. And when he decided that it didn't exist, then it got out of hand. We had a million people die. We had companies and and organizations shut down for months. And that wasn't just something that happened. That was because of Donald Trump's inactivity, his incompetence, his ineptitude, the fact that he fucked up the job. So if he fucked up the job with regards to the pandemic, you've got to hang that mantle of the economy during that period around his neck. Fuck Stephanie Rule. I wish I would have a chance to talk to her, or anybody who tries to pull this thing with Kamala Harris. They keep trying to get these gotchas on Kamala Harris, but when Donald Trump is on the seat, they just bend over and fucking take it. It's like Donald Trump's Sean P. Diddy Combs. All right, CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin popped by MSNBC to join Wednesday's edition of The Beat, where he revealed that his Wall Street contacts are worried about the chaos Donald Trump would bring with him in a second term. And of course, they should be fucking worried. Hell, they're breaking records on Wall Street now. It's up over 42,000. When Donald Trump left, it was under 30,000. That's quite a gain for Joe Biden in the 4 years he's been in office. The former president has repeatedly said he will impose tariffs on imports and has bizarrely claimed that he will use that money to fund domestic initiatives such as childcare. But that makes absolutely no sense. Donald Trump has no idea what he's talking about. But that's now how tariffs works, as they are paid by the U.S. businesses importing the goods. Those extra costs are passed on to us, the consumers, which Sorkin noted is effectively a tax on us. I know it. You know it. The Republicans know it. Apparently, Donald Trump doesn't know it. He's a dumb motherfucker. Look, tariffs across the board should be labeled taxes, he told host Ari Melber. That's what they are. It just means that everything is going to cost more. Can you do tariffs strategically? Yes, it is possible. There are going to be industries, foreign industries, that are subsidized by other governments where you don't want those governments and those companies dumping their products at prices that make no sense and are completely irrational on our people. Sorkin called Trump's plan not strategic and said perhaps the ex president is using his tariff talk as a ploy. He thinks of himself as one of the great negotiators, he went on, and maybe it'll turn out to be that. No, he's not a great negotiator. But I think up until we have actually seen proof of that, this is a massive tax. What do your Wall Street sources say? Melber asked. Sorkin replied that while his business contacts are pleased with some of Trump has said, they have deep concerns. They are scared of the chaos that Trump will create. They are scared of waking up in the morning and looking at X, formerly Twitter, and seeing that either their company or their name in it and what it means. And the sort of jerking around from side to side of where, I mean, just yesterday, Trump is out there saying he's going to add 200% tariff on John Deere, on Deere tractors. Think about that for a second. And by the way, how strategic is that? What about all the farmers in America that buy tractors? That's a massive tax on them. That's what it is. Fucking truly amazing. This guy is an unhinged idiot. And there are still some people that believe him. There are still some people in the government that support this bullshit, even though they know it's fucking wrong. It's bad. It's not a strategy. It's a fucking joke. All right, we're going to be wrapping things up here in a minute, but first I want to tell you about something. And I've always had some problems as of late about the Secret Service. I think when Kamala gets in, she needs to go into that Secret Service, clean house, and rebuild it because there are a lot of problems in the Secret Service. We've seen it on January 6th. We saw it in the assassination attempts, and now we got another one. The U.S. Secret Service confirmed Wednesday it's holding an investigation after reports emerged that an agent sexually assaulted a female member of Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign team. What do you think Kamala's going to do when she finds that out? Yeah, there's going to be some changes made in the Secret Service when she gets in. Real Clear Politics was the first to report on the details of the alleged assault, citing four sources associated with the agency. According to them, the incident occurred last week during preparation for a Wisconsin campaign event when an agent allegedly forced himself on a female staffer and groped her in front of witnesses. So he's a dumb motherfucker, too, or he's arrogant. You want to bet I know who he supports? Donald Trump, because Donald Trump made it okay, made it cool to sexually assault women up until now. He owned up to it. He confessed to it in the Access Hollywood tape back, you know when, and then he was found liable for sexually assaulting a woman, E. Jean Carroll. So apparently this guy thinks it's cool. When asked to address the report, Secret Service Communications Chief Anthony Guglielmi confirmed the agency is investigating a misconduct allegation involving the employee. The Secret Service holds its personnel to the highest standards. Oh, really? Where were you on January 6th? The employee has been placed on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation. The alleged event took place in the staffer's hotel room where she returned with the agent and other campaign staff after the group drank and dined at a local restaurant. One source told Real Clear Politics that the accused agent was so drunk that his co-workers had kicked him out of his hotel room and he passed out in the hallway. Well, that's great. We got Secret Service trying to protect our politicians, and they're so hammered that he gets kicked out of his room, sleeps in the hallway, and sexually assaults a woman. Good move. You think we need to clean house in this motherfucker? Yeah, I think we do. And I think Kamala Harris is just the one to do it. Now, a senior official said we have zero tolerance for sexual misconduct. So fire the motherfucker. The alleged incident comes as Secret Service is under immense scrutiny following the assassination attempts on President Donald Trump, the shooting at Trump rally in July, which nicked his ear, killed one man and injured two others, led to the agency's director to resign. We got a lot of problems in that Secret Service, and they have an important job protecting our president, our vice president, and other members of government. If we can't trust them to stay sober, to not assault women, to do their job on January 6th, not to handle situations where we have two assassination attempts, somebody's fucking up here. Somebody's fucking up here. And we've got the chief that resigned. Now we've got an interim chief, but it's not getting any better. We need to fire Merrick Garland. Kamala needs to fire Merrick Garland soon as she gets into office, but they need to dig in deep and hard and have a deep investigation into the Secret Service. Once Kamala is president of the United States, Tim Walz is the vice president. We're going to have a lot of weirdos with guns in various parts of the country that are going to be butthurt about her beating their Lord and Savior. We need the right protection. We can't take any chances or risks with our president or vice president in the coming months and years. That's got to be straightened out. That's pretty fucked up at this point. All right. We are going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.